Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report, presented by Geico of Mobile, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I am Butch Theory today, and I am joined with Captain Richard Rutland with Cold-Blooded Fishing as my co-host. How we doing today, Captain Richard?
What's up, Butchie Butch? How you doing today, man?
Doing all right, man. I guess I said I'm Butch Theory today, but I guess I'm really Butch Theory every day. Co-hosting with Richard Rutland today. It's been one of those days, brother. Been one of those weeks, actually.
Yep.
Quite the weather rolled through a minute ago.
I know. It was kind of reminded you of something from the wintertime. We had that big, kind of bull front coming through, and it was like, man, it was all the way 30 miles in the Gulf to 40, 50 miles north of Mobile, you know.
I bet you could see it good rolling on the island.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Came due west, pretty much. A little bit south in it.
It looked exactly like one of those wintertime deals, man, where you have that big.
See it rolling through.
Oh, yeah. That
looked
big,
like Independence Day.
That's exactly.
Big alien ship rolling through. Well, how you been doing, buddy? What you been up to?
Man, doing great.
I don't want to ruin the inshore report because you're going to give that to us in a little bit.
Yeah, no, I won't ruin that.
What you been chasing?
You know, just the regular species, doing a lot of trout fishing, finding some fish in some new places, which is fun. A couple of cool little stories I'll tell you. Yesterday, I was supposed to go with your brother on a research trip with South Alabama, and we got blown out. And so Dr. Sean and Dylan Keene with the Sea Lab hopped on the boat, and it was blowing too. You know, we were real confined to where we could go with the weather. And anyway, we got to the first spot and over kind of near Sand Island, and within about 5 minutes, Dylan got a bite and started reeling it in. And I swore I thought it was going to be a redfish. And because it was just you could tell he was having trouble moving the fish.
Had some shoulders.
Yep. And rolled up big trouts, 26-inch trout.
Dang.
And as soon as we got him in the net, I saw he had a tag in him.
That's cool.
And so, of course, almost exactly 2 weeks before, I'd caught some big fish in the same area, and it was one of the fish I had tagged.
So they were hanging tight right there.
2 weeks before, and I'm talking about it from where Dylan hooked the fish to where I tagged the fish couldn't have been 100 feet away.
That's interesting.
It is interesting, and I'll tell you another interesting story. Last Monday, so not this past week, but the week before last Monday, I got out on the Gulf Beach and I tagged my customers. They didn't want to keep a whole lot of fish to eat. You know, I think we kept 10 or 12 fish, something like that. And then I just went to tagging, and these guys had me working so hard tagging because it was just fish after fish after fish. And I was sweating because I was tagging. I think I tagged 26 fish that morning.
Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah, between trout and reds. And I went back 4 days later on that Friday, and I recaptured 3 speckled trout that I had tagged on Monday. Almost same thing. It was almost it was in exactly the same spot. It was crazy.
I just figured those fish would flush out and come. You know, I don't know.
And these trout move, and I have other things like.
I figure they move around a little more than that, especially this time of year, with the water being so warm.
They do move around a lot. I had a recapture. Maybe I think my buddy Blake Stringer recaptured my fish, and I had tagged him in the golf course during spring break. I was down there with my family camping out on my buddy's sailboat, and I kind of course
wander down the beach.
Kids are playing in the sand. I'm like, man, I gotta go. It's just killing me. I gotta go cast. And I go down there and catch a few fish, and I tagged a few of them, and anyway, Blake recaptured the fish just over a month later, and it was all the way on the west end of Dolphin Island on the north side, not even on the south side. You would think
it's a pretty good ways.
If he went anywhere, he would have gone
just cruising the beach
on the beach side, on the south side of the island. But it went all the I don't know if he went all the way around the west end or went through the bay or whatever. But they do move around a lot. It's
could have gone through, came through the ditch, went through the marina. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting what you get to learn with that tagging thing. That's one of my favorite parts of fishing right now is getting to tag fish. It's a ton of fun.
For sure. It's awesome for conservation too. I'm glad that people are getting on board, the recreational anglers as well.
Yeah, we are starting to get a good following with that with CCA and the Sea Lab. The CCA is regularly putting on tagging seminars and whatnot where I'll have Patrick or I, or Patrick Garmison or I, or a couple of other taggers come out and help, give people tips and stuff. And anybody that's listening to the show, if you want to get involved with that, I think the only requirements is you have to be a member of the CCA. and you can call Blakely Ellis or get in touch with me or Patrick or Butch, somebody like that. We'll get you headed in the right direction, but it's a lot of fun.
Blakely was on the show, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, because he was giving folks information on that online auction, and he was saying to get in contact with him so he could get a group of guys up so he can do a class. So
that's right.
We definitely need to do that.
Yeah, Blakely does. Blakely, if Blakely's listening, he needs to get on it. But he's got some awards he needs to give out to some people from last year. You know, of course, about the time we should have been doing the awards. COVID kind of hit, and it's definitely shut everything down. But he was definitely putting some cool awards and stuff together for some of the top taggers, and and he's got like a recreational and a charter captain sectors. So
it's hard to compete with you guys fishing every day. Sheer numbers.
I've been waiting for some competition on it. I'm a reigning 2-year champ on that, and man, I got my foot on the gas again this year too.
Got to. It sounds like it.
I think they gave me 400 tags at the beginning of the year, and I think I'm halfway through them already. So
all right, you hear that, Patrick? Step it up. Step it up.
He can't catch me.
He's gone. He gone in the dust. All right, man. You triple tail been showing up pretty thick.
Oh man, triple tail has been a lot of fun this year.
I've been seeing some slobs.
Yeah.
Speaking of Patrick, I've seen him catch a couple donks.
Oh yeah, he caught a really nice one. I think maybe last week. I think it was last week.
Into last week, maybe.
Yeah,
or week before. Yeah.
He caught a really, really nice one. Said he caught it on a piling and got to sight cast it. You know what I mean? That's what I live for. Is to sight cast those things.
I'd rather sight cast 1 than blind catch 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did a little bit of that today. I went on a little scouting mission with Captain Bobby early this morning. We both kind of thought the weather was going to be very poor today, and ended up being fairly fishable. So we went and scouted. We didn't catch a whole lot on the trout and redfish side of things, but we really weren't fishing things that we knew. Where we knew fish would be. We're trying to fish all new stuff. Mm-hmm. And we hit on a couple little things, but kind of like what you and I were talking about before the show, knowing things like that to us as guides is just as useful information as knowing where they are. You know what I mean? You kind of eliminate water. Man, I was recapping the trip in my head a little bit. We only fished till about 9:30 or so. And I think we fished 12 places before 9:30 this morning.
I was moving.
Yeah, stick and move. You know what I mean? If they're biting somewhere, the old saying for speckled trout is, what do they say? Easy to catch, hard to find.
Bobby said that last week.
Yeah. So that's it. You know what I mean? So you just gotta bump around a bunch, and sometimes that's what it takes to put a trip together.
Yeah. Find somewhere to put the poles down and go to work.
That's it. But we had a good trip. Anyway, I dropped him off, and I went back out, looked for a blackfish for a little bit, and I didn't see any. We had cloud cover.
It wasn't great conditions for sight fishing either.
We had cloud cover, and that southwest wind was honking yesterday, so the water was still a little cloudy, not real clear. I'm like a daggum heroin addict when those things show up, man. I was like, I got to go shoot up, gotta get that vein ready, Got
to get the tug. Tug is the drug.
I love it, man. I love it. Who are we talking to today?
Man, we're going to go down first and talk to the ultimate beach bum, and then you're going to give us the inshore. We got a pretty good hay cap question. I think that I would like to answer our hay cap question on a video.
Yep.
I would like to start exploring these knots a little bit. I think we'll introduce that, man. We got a pretty good question about attaching line to a spool, and maybe we can just get in a video for that and see what happens with that. See what folks think about that. All right, guys. I saw a lot of rumors, the rumor mill this morning a little bit about red snapper season and the shutting down of it due to our quota being met. Let's go down and hear it from Director of Alabama Marine Resources. All right, Director Bannon, I saw some stuff this morning and yesterday evening about red snapper, and we just wanted to go ahead and get it straight from the horse's mouth. How are we doing today, sir?
Well, I'm sure people have probably referred to me as something other than the horse's mouth over the last day or two. But
I was going to say he kind of looks like a horse.
We have met our quota for red snapper, private angler red snapper fishing, and so we're going to be closing a little early this season. And so Friday, July the 3rd at midnight will be the final day of private angler red snapper fishing in Alabama. a lot of people ask, well, how did we get there? And it's about the pounds, not the days. And I know that's hard to remember. We had anticipated a little bit longer season. The effort this year has been phenomenal. I even had a discussion with a person yesterday. I said, if you had not been out on the water, you need to talk to somebody that's been on the water or walked a mile to get to their truck. The effort, which is normally around 530 vessel trips per day, this year was about 800 plus vessel trips per day. So, you add 4 to 6 people per boat, it starts consuming that quota very quickly. Even with the Cristobal weather that we had, our estimates kind of allow for some bad weather. So we anticipate a certain amount of that. It was about effort this year. And I think part of the effort comes from, I know everybody's blaming everything on COVID, but potentially people didn't have other outdoor activities available. We didn't have travel baseball and softball, soccer, volleyball, those events. You couldn't go to Disney. You couldn't take a cruise. You can't visit the Caribbean. Some people can't even go to grandma's house, depending on what state it is. So they went fishing.
Right.
We've had record fuel sales at marinas. It has been quite the summer so far.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not just the offshore, not just the red snapper that are getting hit really hard too, because I told somebody the other day, next time you hear me say that I'm guiding on a Saturday during snapper season, like speckled trout guiding, like pull your gun out and shoot me dead, because I guided last Saturday, and of course the weather was absolutely phenomenal all weekend, this past weekend, and man, I'm gonna tell you what, every place I tried to go and fish, there was like 3 or 4 boats on a lot of like the shallow water spots, and you slid out in the bay around the rigs, and there was like 7 to 10 boats on every single rig out there. So it's not just the red snapper getting hit. Everybody's just trying to get outside, do something, because
stay sane.
Yeah, because exactly what you're talking about, Scott.
We've considered it a safe and healthy activity from the beginning. And again, fuel prices are down a little bit. Boat sales are
True.
up. It was just an activity that people could participate in. And we're glad that people have been able to do that. But you're right. All of the different fisheries have been impacted by it. So I think most of them will take this little bump and we'll move forward. And with the red snapper, of course, we are obligated to work within that quota that we're assigned every year. And we do not want to get into an over harvest situation, because then you have to take it off next year. That's a difficult downward spiral that you want to stay away from. Remember, part of our plan under state management is to say that we can manage it effectively and prevent those overages. And so it's tough. These are tough decisions to make. Nobody wants to, quote, pull the rug out from anyone. But again, it's about those pounds. And that's where we are this week.
Well, Scott, I tell you something, I really want to give the state and Marine Resources just huge kudos for doing what you guys have done to get us where you have gotten us. As far as this red snapper saga goes, because we think about, I don't remember how many years ago it was. It wasn't that long ago.
I was about to say not that many.
We were getting we got 9 days or something.
I think there was 3 days at one point.
Yes, it was good. It was a 3-day season, and we were headed to 0 days.
Right.
And if we'd have gotten to 0-day federal season, then you're kind of stuck. There's not a path forward in that. It's much better than the federal system. It's not perfect. We'll agree wholeheartedly to that. The states are all working very hard to manage those quotas. And every year there seems to be something different that comes in there, and addresses the effort and the harvest. But I know that a lot of people have questions about, well, how do we get to that number? How do we get those pounds? I'm sure you guys have that question.
Yes, sir.
Do we just pull that out of the air? The answer to that is no. It's a statistical survey. Our staff that you may see at public access boat ramps and at marinas, they're usually wearing a light blue shirt that says Marine Resources on the back, carrying clipboards and measuring devices. They conduct dockside surveys, and that's where we get length and weight data and some data about your vessel and your trip. Because I know a lot of people that question, we don't have length and weight in Snapper Check. And then we use the Snapper Check reporting to determine how many people are reporting. The survey then is the validation. So if you came to the dock and we surveyed your boat, we've written down your AL numbers, which is the identifier in Snapper Check, and we then compare those and we say, did this person report that day? And we make a comparison, and that's how we get the reporting rate. So if we interview 10 people and 7 of them went home or at that time before they left the water reported in Snapper Check, then that's a 70% reporting rate. Then you look at how many reports are in Snapper Check, and let's say there's 1,000 reports, and you say, well, that 1,000 is 70% of the total number of people that reported. We have average weight of fish based on the fish that they measured and weighed. And that's a very 30,000 foot view of how that process works. It's a statistical analysis.
I like how you guys do that, because regardless of whether people report or not, you guys are eventually going to get pretty close to your number on how many people are reporting. And my answer, and what I'd like to say to our listeners here who aren't reporting because they think Big Brother's taking something from them, that is ours. You know, you guys are figuring it out anyway, whether they are or aren't.
It is, and it's always, the better data you put into a math problem, the better outcome you get. And you guys know me, Richard. You and I have known each other for several years. I promise you that I don't want to take anything from anyone. I want to do what we can to provide the most opportunities for the people of not only of South Alabama. Red snapper fishing is something that affects the entire state and the Southeast. People come from all over to come down here and enjoy this fishery. And I tell you, I get some blowback from our friends from the north that visit in the wintertime that it's not available to them. But under the state management plan, maybe in the future we can address some of those concerns. But that's what we do, is we accept the public's input, which is why we have Mondays this year. We added Mondays because the public requested that. I think it filled the gap, which is what we were looking at for people that work shift work on weekends and those that are retired or live local and want to avoid the pressure. So Mondays, I think, were a big hit. They weren't a large number. That was not the greatest impact to reaching this quota. They were relatively low impact days, probably an average of about 16,000 pounds per day.
Yeah, we know the best weather day of the week is always on Monday too, man. Right after the weekend when it's been blowing, man.
Slicks down perfect.
But I tell you something else too. I think about while we've been talking about all this is you think about economic impact for the state, and even bigger than that. You were talking about earlier, Scott, with fuel sales, boat sales, tackle,
condos,
rentals, the whole 9 yards. The economic impact that state managed red snapper season has on our area is unbelievable. It reaches very, very far. And just like I said, kudos to Marine Resources, to the conservation department of doing what you guys have done and keeping it here, keeping it home.
Yep, for sure. It worked out last year. We got a couple extra days. We got a couple extensions, but like you say, more people fishing, more fish killed. The quota's going to get filled up quicker.
Yep, Scott. I'm really hoping that you find like this giant glitch in your system, and you're going to let us have red snapper for the rodeo. We've already replaced red snapper with lane snapper this year. We're not having a lane snapper jackpot, but
it was a difficult decision because we understand not only the economic impact, but the social impact that the rodeo has. It's the largest rodeo in the country, and it's already been changed in format, so to speak, due to COVID. It was another negative impact, so to speak, but we have to do it to be responsible. But we also remind folks that the federal for-hire charters are still available. They'll run 7 days a week as long as the weather's good until August 2nd. And you can also take advantage of fishing from Florida or Mississippi. As long as you follow all of their rules and you're legal in that state, you leave and return from that state, you can fish outside of 9 miles of Alabama. And some people will do that. They'll take advantage of that if they live close to either of the state lines.
Yes, sir. Well, man, we really appreciate that update.
Great info there.
Yep. Appreciate you guys battling for the recreational guys on that side. And thanks for all that you do.
No problem. Thanks for the opportunity to discuss it with the folks of Alabama.
Absolutely. And we'll have you back on soon, Director Bannon. Take care.
Thank you, Scott.
So let's head on down and get our first report, man. Let's see what Bama Beach Bum's up to.
How about you, Ultimate? Tell me a fish story, Hoss.
What's up, guys? I know I really like the Ultimate, and it's starting to stick, Richard. People are starting to message me and call me Ultimate.
I like it
on the regular now. So
on the
this
reg.
is your doing. You did this.
I love it, man. Well, you are, dude. You're the ultimate beach bum, bro.
UBB.
Well, man,
What's been going on, bud?
So cool in the summertime because we really have so many different opportunities. But you've got to really be strategic in how you approach things. But we're catching pompano still. If you target them right, we're catching whiting, really nice sized whiting, which I've been surprised to see the size of the whiting that we're catching still for it to be summertime. Summertime's not historically known for its big whiting. And we're starting to see what I've been really excited about, and I've been doing some of the targeting of this species. Is we've been getting some flounder showing up on the beach,
Nice.
which that's pretty normal, but that's been exciting to have the opportunity at some flounder.
You do anything in particular to target those flounder? Do anything different?
Yeah, absolutely. The ways that I've done it, you can, of course, go live bait, or you can use jigs. I've used gulp. I've used the Fishbites Fight Club lures, which is similar to gulp, but scented soft plastics. Just walking the beach, throwing those. But I'll take some bull minnows out there, and I'll take those on my cart, and I'll cart them around, and I'll hit different rips going down the beach that I can see, and just drag that minnow through those rips, and you can pick up some flounder doing that. It can be tough on the beach side of things. Historically, for whatever reason, we have a lot of short flounder, and especially since they've even made the change to those regulations now that they got to be 14, you got to be for a lot of the small ones, but they're there, they're getting in there. So it's just been exciting to see. And I actually did some flounder gigging for the first time in the surf.
I saw that
one day last week. And got to really see a lot of cool fish. We were able to gig some really nice sized ones. It was really nice to see how those fish relate to structure in the surf, and kind of being in their element really helped me out understanding how to target them better.
That's a great point. You can learn a lot by seeing a fish in its natural habitat.
Oh, big time. And I tell you what, it's so cool going out at night. And
it's been a long time since I've gigged a flounder.
But it's so cool going out at nighttime and just seeing, everything. Yeah, you see, it's funny. You just see so much more at nighttime on those shallow water flats and stuff, when you would think it would just, you could go out there during the middle of the day and it's dead as a hammer, and you go out there at nighttime and you're like, oh my God, look at all of the life that's out here. There's little bull minnows and finger mullet and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Ultimate, when you're rigging up for those flounder, what are you doing? You doing like a Carolina rig, or you hooking those baits through the hooking your bull minnows through the lips? Go through your rigging a little bit for us. Split
shot, or what you doing?
Yeah, I was using a Carolina rig. I used a half ounce little egg weight on a Carolina rig, and the water, the particular days that I've gone, the water has been extremely clear. So I've actually been running 10-pound fluorocarbon. So I've really downsized my weight as possible, and I've just been using a size 4 J hook. I prefer a J hook over circle hooks when I'm flounder fishing, so that when I feel confident that fish is eating that bait, I can put a good, decent hook set on them.
Put the hammer down.
Trying to get that hook where it's in their mouth. Circle hooks, even though, circle hooks are supposed to be, where they don't get swallowed by fish and stuff. What I've had in my personal experience, anytime I've used circle hooks for flounder fishing, they tend to still swallow them. I feel like setting the hook just helps put it in the right place if you can feel it right. More so, I gut hook way less fish using a J hook than a circle hook for flounder. I don't know why. That's kind of weird, but it's just what I've personally experienced.
Yeah, and if you kind of think about a circle hook as far as a flounder goes, most of the time when you're using a circle hook, you're counting on the fish to be swimming away from you,
right?
And then to slowly set that hook to drag it and get them in the corner of the mouth. Well, flounder doesn't really have a corner of the mouth. You know what I mean? Their mouth is the opposite direction of every other fish that you're trying to catch. So I could see where it wouldn't work as good, you know? A lot of people prefer a kale hook when they're flounder fishing, but I'm with you, Ultimate. I use a J hook. It's a live bait. It's a live bait specific hook, and I do that with trout and with flounder and with reds when I'm live baiting with them. And I'm telling you, it's like 80% of the time the hook is right in the corner of the fish's mouth, right where it's supposed to be. So I think what you're saying, keep your line tight, know what's going on down there on the end of your end of your line, and you're good to go.
You've got to use braid for flounder fishing, especially with as subtle as those bites are. And really, that braid's just going to communicate exactly what's happening with that bait. Like, you can really feel what's happening. So important to be able to use braid so that you can get a good hook set on it and just know the timing too. Cause and it's hard. Like, I don't do a lot of flounder fishing. I'm definitely not, I don't want anybody to think I'm on here like saying I'm some expert flounder. I'm probably like the worst flounder fisherman on the planet. But from my experience in the surf, it's just one of those things. You into how the fish are biting and how they eat that bait.
Well, ultimately, let me tell you, we're all the worst flounder fishermen on the earth, okay, on the planet. We all are, okay.
I've heard of some good ones. I think they're out there. They're legends.
They're
some
like
people that really know what they're doing.
They're like aliens reincarnated into human bodies, or like the good flounder fishermen, but
flounder whisperers.
As far as what I can tell from the flounder fishery, it's the numbers aren't near what they used to be. You know what I mean? So I think if you're catching any flounder right now, you're doing great. And I'm not even seeing a pile of them on social media yet or anything like that. So it's a tough fishery. So I think it's saying something that you're starting to figure something out. I tell you something I've been doing, I had to tag a bunch of flounder with the Sea Lab last year, and our bait of choice was live finger mullet. And it didn't matter how big they were, whether they were like 2 inches long or 6 inches long. Those flounder wanted finger mullet, and we rigged them a Carolina rig. Same thing you're doing, 1/2 ounce weight. But we were tying our leaders real short, like a foot long or something. We weren't tying them real long. Of course, we're not fishing that gin clear water that you're getting to fish down there. But
True.
The other thing we did too was we hooked them in the back behind their dorsal fin. And so basically what that did was make the finger mullet just basically, I kind of looked at it as you have the weight sitting on the bottom and then like a 1 foot radius all the way around the weight. That finger mullet's just swimming all around, and he's constantly trying to get away from the hook, versus like if you got him hooked in the lips, he might just be laying there, but if you get him hooked in the back, he's trying to get away from that thing the whole time.
You're covering a lot of bottom. You twitch it, 3 foot towards you, then he covers another foot.
That's right. Yeah. And that's how I looked at it too. And then I tell you what, it was the results whenever I started going from hooking them in the lips to hooking them in the back like that went through the roof,
That's interesting.
So that might be something for you to give a try down there, Ultimate.
For sure.
Yeah, no, that sounds brilliant. I like it.
Yeah, and I tell you, the finger mullet are fairly easy to catch. You got to start paying attention when you're around places and looking for them, but obviously you can't go to the bait shop and buy them. You've got to catch them on your own. But man, like boat ramps and little sandy bottoms, or if you can find some grass, like a grassy bottom or something near a bank, those are like perfect places to do it. If you can be like, when you get up early to go to the beach, stop by like a couple boat ramps or something like that when there's a couple lights still on.
Get you a very small mesh cast net, I assume.
Yeah, you want like a 1/4 inch mesh or something small. Make you a couple casts around the boat ramps and stuff, man. It's usually money. You know what I mean? You can usually figure it out. And, you get your 3 or 4 dozen. That's about all you need because those finger mullet are real hardy baits,
they're tough.
Man, that's really cool info talking about this flounder down there.
Let's talk pompano a little bit. You guys see anything different? I know that they've been kind of picky about what they want to eat. What you seeing as far as that goes?
Yeah, pompano, we're still getting some. And it's real, like this time of year, of course, it's not like spring. So we're not. It's not like you can go out there any day and just have a bang up day. You've really got to have the right conditions, and by right conditions I mean water clarity, surf, not being too terribly rough, but just that right amount of wave action. You got to, and really those sunnier days right now tend to produce better. If it's cloudy or something, these pompano, they're sight feeders. They tend to like that sunshine, which, we don't think about that as much about fishing. Yeah. Most of the time, those bluebird sky days, we think is terrible, but they can be really good for pompano. So you really got to have the right conditions. And also you got to weed through a lot of other species still right now, just because it's summertime. So we've got the ladyfish, we've got the blue runners, you'll run into catfish if you got the water clarity just a little bit off. Even croakers and pinfish. I mean, just everything's remoras.
Oh, wow.
Everything's out there right now. So you have to be real strategic about, what baits you're using. And, we talked about it in one of the recent podcasts, really just scaling back your rigs, making sure you take those floats off. Don't use a whole lot of color. That stuff, of course, attracts pompano, but there's so many other species that it attracts to then there's just more of them. They're going to find it first. So you want to let that bait be able to sit longer so that you can catch those pompano. But we're still getting them. We're still having some good days. We're still able to get limits, but everything kind of still has to line up, just right. And we've got to be able to be strategic in our rigging and weed through some of those species still.
Yep, it's that time of year.
Yep, Ultimate. Before we're gonna get a tip from you here in just a second. I just want to tell you a little quick story. I hadn't talked to you in a little bit, but
yeah, no, I love story time with Richard. We need a segment with story time every week. Story time with Richard.
Man, so I ran. I had a free day a couple weeks ago, and I ran down to Mississippi, and I fished the south side of Petty Boy Island and Horn Island. And when I was at Petty Boy, we were kind of easing down the beach. We wade fished some, and then we got in the boat, man. And long story short, we caught a zillion bluefish while we were down there. And I think I might have talked about this on one of the previous shows, but we caught a zillion bluefish. But we were drifting down the beach, and we got near a little piece of structure. I don't know what it was that we were looking at, but I swear to God, I saw a world record. If it wasn't a pompano, if it wasn't a permit, it was a world record pompano. He had to have been. He looked like he was 30 inches long in the water. You know what I mean? Just looked huge. I mean, it really looked like a permit. And I don't know what a permit will be doing in Mississippi. You know what I mean?
I don't know much about permit. It could have been old Pompano Sad Daddy.
But I'm gonna tell you what, he was by himself, and by the time I saw him, he saw us. You know what I mean? So I had no chance. I had nothing to throw at him except a slick lure. You know. Man, I was thinking about you when I saw him. I said, man, I bet Ultimate would be going crazy right now.
Oh man, I would have been losing my mind.
He was. He was
crazy.
A gigantic. So he had to have been 7 or 8 pound fish. Man, he was humongous, man. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, man, somebody needs to come down here for rodeo.
That's right. It might be might be where he is, might be where he lives.
Cool.
All right, man. We got to get that tip from you. This week's onshore tip is brought to us by KillerDock. Today, we're going to profile another common form of dock dysfunction, dirty dock. Have you ever cleaned up a nice mess of fish and then watched your wife's face in disgust when she sees your dirty dock as a result? It's happened to all of us who are cleaning fish on old wooden fish cleaning tables that don't slope towards the water. You need dock enhancement. KillerDock fish cleaning stations are marine-grade aluminum coated with a ceramic finish that makes cleaning your dirty dock a cinch. The scales and slime drain directly into the water, through the legs and or through the slots. You choose the style. Check out the best fish cleaning stations known to mankind at KillerDock.com. What you think for a tip this week?
With our beaches being packed, we're at peak visitor season right now. Everybody's at the beach. Summertime, we're at the height of things. It can be difficult finding those spots to still be able to surf fish when you've got this many people on our beaches, on the small amount of beaches that we have on the coast of Alabama. There's a couple ways that you can still fish this time of year and still have some space and try to not be on top of people and around swimmers. First off, the time of day is real important. You've got usually a couple hours in the morning, real early before all the sunbathers and swimmers start showing up. And also a couple hours in the evening, usually people start going to dinner. So usually like that 5:30 to about 7:30 time frame in the evenings, and usually like 5 o'clock in the morning until about 8 o'clock in the morning, you've got those time slots that you can fish and still have plenty of space. Or, you can be strategic and you can look at the maps, Google Maps or, satellite images, and you can just find those open stretches of beach. They're not easy to get to. Usually there's not an access close by or a house or a condo or anything. So usually you got to park and walk a really good ways. But, those are just things you need to be able to plan for and prepare for so that you can get some space so that you're able to fish. But if you are in an area that does get crowded and you're fishing and you do run into other swimmers and sunbathers, I try to encourage our angling community that's fishing the beaches of Alabama to be the bigger man, be the bigger woman. If somebody comes up and starts giving you some lip or hey, you can't fish here, my kids are trying to swim, if you get into any of those types of situations, don't escalate the situation. I understand, we feel like we have a right to the beach, and we do, if we're there first, but the fishing community is going to have a hard time winning those battles, so it can really hurt our case if we have more and more of these run-ins where people are having arguments or causing scenes or anything with the fishermen and the beach goers. So I always try to encourage the anglers, just be the bigger person. If people start showing up to swim, just let them have it. That's okay. Go find another spot somewhere. The fishing may be better somewhere else anyway, so it may be better just to pick up and move and go somewhere where there aren't as many people.
Yep. You never know.
Encourage you to be kind to other people and give them the space.
That's right. Well, you never know what you're going to find on the other side of the pasture, Ultimate, I would expect nothing less out of you than what you just said about doing that, man.
Pure class. I
mean, there's a lot of people that would just say, hey, man, take a hike.
This is my beach.
Go kick rocks, whatever. And I'm sure there's plenty of beach fishermen out there that are doing the same thing you're doing that would say, hey, go kick rocks, man. Whatever guy from Illinois or Oklahoma or whatever, like these people don't know. But the thing to remember, man, is nobody owns the water. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Nobody owns the water. That is our state-given right, is our access to water. So nobody owns the water, but
you tell you what it all boils down to? Be respectful. It doesn't matter who it is and what the situation is. Yep. Be respectful of whatever is happening to you.
That's it. But man, that's a good tip there, man.
It is. I agree.
Let's you're looking out for
future of the fishery
for us.
Yeah, and you're right. The more times that
100%.
the more angry. I'm not saying that we have angry tourists. I'm saying the more people, the more confrontations you have, the more attention is going to be brought to the situation. And you're right. The fishermen are not going to win.
No.
Yeah, I made this point in some groups as well that I'm the admin in. It's just, if it continues to happen, there's going to be more regulations. Nobody likes more regulations, and even smaller things like, they might start putting a limit on the amount of rods you can fish with on the beach, or they might start closing certain beaches off to fishing completely. You just don't want to see those things. You don't want more rules and things that you have to follow. So if we can't regulate it ourselves and be respectful and do it ourselves, Big Brother's going to have to come in and
we don't want
make
that.
those changes for you.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Just do it on your own.
Well, Ultimate, that was the Ultimate Beach Report. We appreciate it. And,
awesome tip.
As always, very, very good talking to you, sir. And good luck with the rest of your week and on into July.
Yep, it's heating up, man.
Thanks, guys.
I don't know what your book looks like. If people want to book a trip with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way is my website. It's www.staybummy.com. That's STAYBUMMY.
Awesome, buddy. Well, we appreciate the report, like Richard said, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, man. Always good to hear from the Ultimate Beach Bum.
Man, I love me some Ultimate, man. He's
good dude.
He's a good dude, man.
He is.
I tell you his little segment right there about having to deal with, because you got
a lot of people over there, man.
And you have to understand both sides. You know what I mean? You got your fishermen, and then you have your people who are just hanging out. I like hanging out on the beach. Do you like hanging out on the beach?
There has to be some certain criteria, but yes,
I love sticking my toes in the sand. You know what I mean, and playing in the surf and all that with my kids and the whole 9 yards. You got to see both sides of it.
Got to be a compromise, man.
I mean, I know how I would act, but obviously I understand what's going on out there on the beach when you got some guys fishermen. Not everybody understands that, but it's I like Ultimate's his take on it.
His approach is good.
Yep, his approach on what to do, how to tackle that is a classy one. You said it, classy.
Always.
And, kind of what we were talking about, what he was talking about too, you never know what a move is going to turn into.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Could push you down to the biggest catch ever.
Oh, man. You
never know.
You have no idea. So.
Yeah. Well, man, let's head on down to, I don't really know where he's been, but let's head on down and see what Captain Richard Rutland's up to.
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. What you think, man? What's been going on inshore? I know you were talking about you've been chasing a couple triple tail. What's going on in the speckled trout and the redfish world?
Man, I tell you, it's been a pretty fun period because that storm, we had the Cristobal, however you say it. That kind of threw things for a loop, kind of disrupted everything a little bit, but everything is starting to settle back in. And it's a really cool period right now because you've got I'm still catching fish really good in shallow water. How I've been talking about in the past, like haven't been on a lot of great croaker bites lately. I've been going to the bait shop and buying 100 croakers every morning and catching some really nice fish on croakers, especially in the surf has been real well.
Free line
and croakers has been fun, and then top water's been unbelievable. And then there's also a real good deep water bite going on right now. We're catching a lot of fish out in the in the Mississippi Sound on some deep water wrecks and some of the state-made reefs and stuff like that. That shrimp boat reef off of Coffee Island's been really good. The CCA reefs have been producing well. Of course, there's a bunch of unmarked reefs that are in the Mississippi Sound, kind of like west of Bayou La Battery, that are very productive right now as well. But all around, it's been, you can kind of, it's kind of one of those things. Hey, do you have a favorite spot you like to go fishing in the summertime? Go to it right now. Is
artificial out the door?
No, not at all. Not at all. Been catching a few. It's not anything like live bait is right now, but no, it's definitely
situational, early, late, and cloud cover.
That's right.
For your artificials.
That's right. And when I've been on a popping cork, I've been doing some of my popping cork fishing. I've been mixing in some voodoos with the live bait and doing just as good on those. So I wouldn't get away from. I wouldn't just hang up artificial completely.
Right.
I'm always,
especially if you're on a bite with the poles down.
That's right.
Good substitute.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And you're going to, the only problem with this time of year when it comes to that, like just staying strictly on live bait, is you can blow through so much bait in a hurry on little like 12 and 13-inch speckled trout and croakers and catfish and stuff like that. Whereas if you're on a voodoo shrimp or some type of plastic, you are still catching the trash. You're still catching the croakers.
You're not wasting money.
But you're not wasting bait. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, is to always keep that mixed in to your lineup there. Keep it on hand. Keep mixing it on in there. Don't ever just forget about it. Because as soon as you forget about it, you're like a crackhead. You know what I mean? For bait.
Gotta have
bait. Where's the bait? Where's the bait? Who's got the bait? You know what I mean? And like, if you don't have bait, you think you can't go fish. But that's not the case. So keep it in the mix up for sure.
Is there anything right now that you're 100% honed in on as far as slicks, bird schools, grass, rocks? What are you looking for?
It's just bait, life now.
In general.
Yeah. If just when you like just for instance, I told you Captain earlier in the show, Captain Bobby and I went on a little scouting mission this morning. We both kind of had a little mix up with the weather for today, and we both ended up jumping on together. And everywhere we went and just fished some new stuff, and we didn't catch anything where we didn't see any life. You know what I mean? Seeing some mullet jumping or a few pogies flipping around or a little bit of something on the bottom machine. So just looking for life right now is what I would do. And kind of what you were saying earlier, when I was talking about the fish that I had tagged, hadn't moved around at all, they are moving around a lot right now. Just these couple little cases that I've run into with this tagging thing, they haven't moved, but they are moving around a lot right now. So just looking for signs of life. We fished the whole West End beach this morning and didn't see a ton of life. And then, hell, we even got around where we saw a bunch of life, a bunch of mullets smoking on the surface and jumping, and still didn't catch anything, But those are the things you're going to want to look for right now. If you're in shallow water, some type of texture on the bottom, whether it's grass or oyster shell, is going to go a real long way. Or if you have a nice current break, where you've got like a bar that jumps up, or a point of an island right now where we've got these great big tides right now. So
it's super high right now.
Yep, you find some of these points where the water's just really rolling real good around there. It's going to really disrupt everything, and those fish are going to be just sitting in there waiting. Ambushing for things. Not a whole lot to report on redfish. I guess I've been catching some on the surf.
My next question was going to be, have you been differentiating reds from specks, or it's kind of mixed in?
No, just kind of mixed in here or there. I haven't gotten on any real great redfish bites. Redfish for me is always kind of I usually start getting on like good schools of like better sized slot redfish more into the hotter part of the summer, more August, September time frame.
Sure.
That really starts to heat up for me. I don't know what it is that makes them group up in certain areas, but they've been a little bit, I guess, a mixed bag lately.
Just scattered.
Yep, scattered. And then, of course, black fishing's been just through the roof good this year. I'm just so impressed with the number and the size. And I think maybe the last time I was on here, I was talking about how the better sized fish have been showing up.
Yep, they're starting to show up.
Yep, I've seen several fish over 20 pounds be caught here in the past couple of weeks. So that's really, really good to see. I'm really excited to see what the rodeo brings. Because these guys are going to be fishing hard for the rodeo.
Yeah. Them old buoy brims, some guys like that.
Buoy brim.
I like
love
calling
it.
them that.
I do too, man. I do too. That's a lot of that, man. They're so much fun to catch. Golly.
Yep. Some of these guys love it, dude. I see some of the guys that do it all the time on social media.
I tell you what's kind of cool about some of these guys who are they're almost becoming like the blackfish guys are almost becoming like the tarpon guys. They're like a little cult.
That's right.
You know, they're like the little cult, and they all kind of communicate a little bit, and they do keep it quiet. But the cool thing about what a lot of those guys are doing is a lot of those guys are getting into the tagging thing, and it's not just about
killing the biggest fish.
Yeah, going out and killing a bunch of fish.
Smashing your limit.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, that's not important. You know, after you catch a zillion of anything,
right?
You know,
what's the point? Do something bigger.
That's right.
That's right.
So it's kind of neat. They're starting to get into the tagging and catch and release and whatnot, and you know, a lot of these guys sandbag. You know what I mean? They'll like catch.
Oh, I ain't caught nothing.
Well, no, they'll catch fish all year long and then post them all like at Christmas time before the New Year, and you're like, man, that dude was smashing them. You know,
all year.
So I don't know. I like how it's going, but it's a daggum popular sport right now. You're out there like on a Friday or a weekend or whatever, man. There are people running around everywhere looking for them.
Bumping bows for the brim buoy, buoy brim.
Some I've been kind of doing to, because there's only so many crab pots you can go look at or things like that. I've been fishing more structure this year. I've been fishing more pilings and buoys and channel markers, stuff like that.
Bigger buoys.
Just not running and gunning. Slowing down a little bit and just
using your equipment.
Yeah, and
machine a little bit.
Little bit.
How many fish do you not see that you catch, or is that really just not happen that much?
It doesn't happen a whole lot
because they pretty much just stay up top on that whatever they're sticking on.
No, not always. They're going to be most of the time for me, like on either a piling or a buoy. They're going to be within 7 feet of the surface. You know, is what I would say.
Yeah.
And I always work my way all the way down to the bottom with a slip cork when I'm fishing a piling or a buoy. But most of the time, they're going to be in the upper part of the water column. For me, anyway. And I've gotten to where, you get a fishing enough at that, you can really cover a lot of water doing that. And I used to kind of hate that kind of fishing because it was like, man, you jump up and run and then slow down, put the trolling motor in the water, fish it hard for 10 minutes and
jump up, run.
And then jump up and run.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to where I'm just making, the times that I've been successful, it usually happens within the first 3 or 4 casts.
Right.
That you're going to make on a buoy or a piling. For me, I'm getting a bite pretty quick. And it's usually, like I said, less than about 7 or 8 feet. So, throw it over there a couple of times. You get a bite, you get lucky. If not, let's go find another one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's been working for me.
There's definitely some patience involved in triple tail fishing.
And I've kind of had to adapt a little bit because, sometimes, there's a bunch of areas where there's a bunch of crab buoys, which is what I've been good at, is running crab buoys. But now there's 10 other guys that are always running the same crab buoy, so I'm having to go and adapt and do something different, and
change it up a little bit.
Yeah, because the other guys they're not thinking about the buoys and pilings; they're thinking about all the crab pots that are out. So
yeah,
I don't know, a little bit different.
Change it up a little bit.
That's it,
man. I think I'm gonna do something a little different on the Hey Cap question this week.
All right, let's go.
I think we have a cool question, and it prompts a video for a knot, and I would love to put out a video for these knots. This week's Hey Cap was brought to us by Foster Contracting. The recent thunderstorms that have been producing wind and hail in the area may have damaged your home's roof. The certified roofing pros at Foster Contracting offer free roof inspections, and if your roof has received damage, most homeowners have little or no cost out of pocket when going through your insurance. If you're looking for quality construction with a dependable, licensed, and certified fortified roofing professional, give the Fortified Roofing Pros a call at 251-973-9999. They're a family-owned business that is big enough to get the job done, but small enough to care. Remember to support the local businesses that make your local podcast possible, and check them out at fortifiedroofingpros.com. Man, I say whenever you and I finish up recording here, we'll go down there and we'll record a video for Jacob Chandler. What do you think?
I like it. What's his question?
This week's Hey Cap question comes from Jacob Chandler. He says, when you start up D's knots portion of the show, I would love to hear what type of knot to use when tying line to the spool, both spin cast and conventional braid, and mono. I got a couple of empty reels laying around here. I could probably find some mono and some braid. I think I'll just post that video on our Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report page. And Jacob, we appreciate the question. Jacob's going to get a prize pack from the Slick Lure. Jacob Chandler, make sure you email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com to redeem your Slick Lures, and we'll send you that prize pack. Make sure to follow us at the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report page and the group that we just started to see your Hey Cap D's Nuts segment video.
D's Nuts.
I like it, dude. I'm excited.
Man, knot tying is and
it's hard to talk about.
It is hard to talk about. It is. That's why I like your idea of this video. That's going to be fun.
Yep. Let's see what happens.
Yep. All right.
Let's head offshore, man. Let's see what Captain Dustin Bedgood's up to with the Fed Up Charters.
Oh, yeah. He's got a good one.
Oh, yeah. He's always smashing. What you say, Captain Dustin? Tell me a fish story, man. What you been catching? You never know what you're up to.
Oh man, we've been chasing a little bit of everything. Some days it's been a little too bumpy to get out into the tunas, or we've been doing a lot of snapper fishing, of course, and a good bit of grouper fishing. We've caught a few tunas, a few swordfish, caught a wahoo. Gonna do a little bit of the same this week. Hopefully we get a little better weather and we can get out there and swordfish. I got customers wanting to go, but the weather ain't cooperated a lot.
Always, man. Well, yeah, I saw you caught a nice sword. I think it was end of last week. Tell us a little bit about that one, man. What did he bite? How deep? Tell us a little bit about the fight and what happened.
That fish, we had spent a little bit of time. I think we had lost one fish before we got that one on. Both of those fish came off of a rigged eel, like a cobia eel that we had rigged. Actually, one of them came pre-rigged that I bought from J&M, and the other I rigged. But it's kind of a small profile bait. I think it's easy for them to get down instead of like a real big squid. But we'd spent a good bit of time fishing and hadn't had much luck. But I wasn't marking a lot of bait, and kind of did some moving around, and kind of found an area that looked like it was holding a lot more bait. And I dropped one down, and it was pretty much insta bite. And
how deep?
I've just been out there all day fishing in the wrong area.
Right. Got to find the bait for
but,
sure.
We didn't spend a lot of time out there. It was a short trip. That's all we did. We went there, we sword fished, and we turned around, went home as soon as we put that one in the boat. That's the kind of trips I like.
That's right. That's not a bad day right there. Amen.
Yeah.
What depth of water you've been catching some of those fish in?
I've been fishing anywhere from 1,700 to, up to 12 and 1,300 foot. A lot of days, just trying to find that thermocline is key, because everybody can drop their bait down to the bottom and reel it up, and, just have it swimming along. But I think the areas that we're fishing, there's always fish there. I think you just really got to get dialed in to where those fish hang out at certain times, finding that thermocline and fishing according to it. Because some days I'll see it where it's 200 foot off the bottom or 100 foot off the bottom. And some days I'll see it where it's like 500 or 600 foot off the bottom.
So tell me a little bit more about that. You got to
kind of learn to where those fish are going to hang out in that thermocline when there's bait around.
I assume you're finding the thermocline on your bottom machine. Tell me a little bit more about that. What are you looking for, and how do you know when you found it? I'm not sure that our listeners are going to know what you're talking about there.
It's a lot of playing with the gain on your machine. It's a lot about knowing your machine and being comfortable with it and being able to doing a lot of changing with it. Because it's not like I can go fishing with you one day, dial your machine in, looking at the thermocline, looking at the bottom, marking bait. Then you go back the next time and it's not going to be the same. Your machine's just not going to be, you're not going to be looking at the same. You have to change it every day. Right. That's what I think anyways. It's just something that I'm constantly changing. It never stays the same. It's not like I have a preset that I just go to. And I think that's a thing. And, it's once you start, I can I'll turn my gain up real high and I'll turn it down real low, and I'll kind of watch my screen as I'm doing that. And I'll kind of find just the way I like it, like a sweet spot where I can see that thermocline across the screen. Mm-hmm. It's where, it's just giving me a little bit of return where there's something in the water there. It's where it's bait, and maybe I think it's like a cloudy area, and there's a little like plankton and different life is there. And I think that your machine shows you that little bit of return, and that's your thermocline. Sometimes there's more than one, but I'm always looking for the one closest to the bottom.
And just for our listeners, because I'm kind of an electronics junkie as well.
And for me, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, when Dustin's talking about a return, like a hard return is something like that's going to be dense, like dark red, something of that nature. And he's talking about a return on a thermocline is going to be, like he's saying, cloudy, kind of hazy line, and it's usually going to be very prolonged. You know what I mean? You're going to see that thermocline all day.
Yeah, it's not going to be just a
blip
mark,
and then
like
gone.
a fish.
Right.
It's going to be something that stays on your screen. It's not going to change. It may change throughout the day, but once you find it, it's going to be a line across your screen. It's not going to be ever change.
And then to go a little farther than that, as far as the swordfish go and the thermocline, are you trying to fish just right around that thermocline? Are you trying to get below it, above it? What's your thought process there?
I'm staying below it, below the thermocline, especially if I'm fishing on the bottom. Like if the thermocline is real close to the bottom, if it's 200 foot from the bottom, like I've got my bait down there real close. But if it moves up through the day, especially when the tide changes, current, moon, whatever it is, when it changes and I see that thermocline move up, I'll have my bait way higher than anybody else that I fish around, that I talk to. They'll still be fishing down there. And some of those days, whenever I see it move up and I'll pick my bait up way higher, or when I'm retrieving my bait, I'll get bit. And I think those fish are always there. We're just fishing for them in the wrong spot a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. They're going to follow the bait for sure.
That's interesting. Switching gears a little bit, you are talking about catching a few grouper as well. What you been doing there?
Yeah, we're spending some time. I've heard a lot of people say since the storm has come through that it's like pushed a lot of grouper in or redistributed a lot of grouper on some of this stuff. It seems like a lot of guys have been catching gags pretty good. I haven't really caught any gags, but I've been, deep water grouper fishing and catching tile fish and longtail sea bass.
I've been seeing a bunch of
snowy groupers and the yellow edge. That's what I like to, they're a lot of fun and they're really good to eat. And sometimes when you find them, it's like you find a hole in it. You limit out on them just like, in a couple of drops, especially when you're dropping, 3 or 4 hooks.
You find anything particular where those grouper are hanging out on a ledge or a mud hole?
I catch them anywhere between, I spend a lot of time between 500 and 700 foot.
Just ledges?
I think a lot of people are catching them shallower than that, but that's just because that's where they're comfortable at. And I'm kind of trying to stay outside of where I see most people fishing.
Right.
Just because I feel like it's less pressure, and I'm using an electric reel anyway, so
right. What's another couple hundred feet?
And I think a lot of people feel real comfortable fishing, up into like 700-800 foot. But all you got to do is go out there a little bit deeper. There's fish there. There's the barrel fish. There's the groupers will be deeper too sometimes, but there's barrel fish and all different types of tile fish, and all that stuff's really good to eat.
For sure, man. Well, that's an awesome report. We got to get that offshore tip from you. This week's offshore tip is brought to us by Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over with. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and the excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. What you think for an offshore tip this week, Captain Dustin?
I've heard a lot of people talking about, they've had trouble catching their snappers. And then I ask them, what are they using for bait? And they tell me their style and technique that they're trying. And I think a lot of the people that are having trouble, that is what it's coming down to, is just the way they're fishing for these fish. They're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. They're putting a big, huge chunk of lead and a dead bait, or, even if they have a live bait, it's the same thing as everybody else. But we've been catching a lot of nice snapper. We spend a little bit more time, not worried about everybody on the boat making a drop on the spot. We may have 2 people fishing where we have 2 real big baits, like 2 mullets or, 2 hardtails or 2, just something different than what they see every day. Well, we usually have, the cigar minnows too, and the croakers, but I'm all about that. And, we'll pull up to a place when I mark some good fish. I'm going to put down a variety of stuff until I can get one of them to bite. But we've been having a lot of luck catching nice fish and not going very far. Doing a lot of fishing on the tanks. public tanks.
Nice. I think that's a great tip, man. People overlook bait a lot, and just because you got a big hook with a big pokey
I think
on
a
it.
lot of people, they're like, oh, we got to hurry up and get out there. Well, what you should do is just spend another hour or two, catching some different kinds of bait before you leave the beach. Catch some mullet, catch some hardtails, catch whatever you can, carry them with you, and try some different stuff, that nobody else is using.
Yep.
And I also see people talk about the hornbellies or the butterfish that they're not catching fish on them. Well, I don't catch very many fish on them, but when I do catch a fish on them, it's always a really good one.
Yeah.
And I usually have somebody fishing with one. We'll pull up and drop it on 4 or 5 spots and never get touched. But when we do, it's always a 20+ pounder.
Oh wow, that's good. That's cool to hear.
Yeah, not a lot of bites, but quality bites.
What'd you call it?
Butterfish or a hornbelly?
The butterfish or a hornbelly.
Is that what I call it?
We call them crazy fish.
Crazy fish. That's what I was about to say. Is that what I call a crazy fish? Yeah, they'll hurt you. Cool,
yeah,
man.
But we use them for everything. A lot of people talk about they're not good baits, but if I'm going to live chum tunas and I can't get anything else, I'm going to black my live well out with them.
Yep. Amen.
Because when you get out there, you can spend all day out there, and they're going to be swimming great.
Yep, for sure. They're tough.
They're real hardy bait.
Yeah, I like your thought process there with spending a little more time catching bait. It's rare that I do a little bit of bottom fishing out of my boat, out of my inshore boat, and I never leave the beach without either some live mullet. I prefer live pogie, but if I can't find live pogies, I'm catching live mullet or cast netting something, or stopping at a small rig or a small reef or something on the way out, dropping a sabiki rig down and getting some, man. Like nothing, to me, nothing works as good for big snapper like a live hardtail does, or a big live mullet, big 16-inch mullet or so.
I think with all the clear water just straight out of here out of Mobile Bay, Skipper and Joe went this weekend, and they said there's been some awesome bait around, a bunch of thread fins, just right at the sea buoy and all. Some nice baits.
And I have every sabiki that you can buy from J&M. I probably have 20 or 30 of them. Yeah. And when I pull up and I mark bait and I know that they're there, like I'll go through that box and I'll use one of every kind until I catch them.
I like that.
I may waste 7 or 8, but I'm gonna sit there. If they're there, I'm gonna sit there till I catch them.
No, yeah.
If it's daylight and they're there, there's no reason you shouldn't catch them.
That's right.
I like
you
that.
may not have the right sabiki, or you may not be doing it right. You may need more weight or less weight, but if they're there, you should be able to catch them on the sabikis.
Yep, I like that. The smaller sabiki, I think it's called a Hayabusa. Mm-hmm. That little bitty.
I have so many different kinds. I don't know. I was just there today at J&M, and I usually just go through and grab 2 or 3 off of every kind they have, with them. And then as I find one that I really like, I'll keep buying them.
Yeah.
I like the R&R tackle. They make some that have like 8 hooks instead of 5, so I like those.
Yeah.
But the bait's been really good. Something I didn't mention is we out of Orange Beach, we've been catching a lot of bait, and there's all over the beach out there. It's like I'll find a school of bait and I'll go to catching them. And then I'll realize why there's a school of bait is because there's a bait fad there. But they're everywhere along the beach. And then as soon as we start catching bait, it won't be but just a second. We'll have cobia swimming all around the boat. Most of them have been small, but we've been catching them just about every day.
Man, that's cool.
That is cool.
That's a great report, Dustin. We really appreciate it. And as always, enjoy having you on.
Yep, we'll talk to you soon, buddy. People want to book a trip with you. I'm not sure what your book looks like. I know you do inshore and offshore. All the folks coming down for Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, if they want to do a inshore trip, a day trip, but if they want to go offshore and do some sword fishing or some tuna fishing, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is call me at 251-377-7135. Email me at fedupcharters@gmail.com. If anybody wants to go snapper fishing or wants to go offshore fishing, we have availability after the week of 4th of July. We have some days open, especially half-day snapper trips and full-day trips, sword fishing or whatever. If you've got a group, get in touch with me. Even if you can't fill the boat and don't have enough people to feel like, you can split it to make it, worth the money, let me know. I may have some people on standby that want to go also, and I can put a group together. So
you have a Facebook page, don't you?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page, and we also have. I also have my offshore business is we're kind of trying to get everything converted over to it's Gulf Coast Charter Company. but we have a website now, but we don't. I'm trying to get everything kind of pushed over to that to cover the offshore. But yeah, I try to, I try to, if I have somebody that calls and they only have 3 people and they really, just can't, come up with the money to pay for it with 3 people, I always have people that'll jump in and go with them.
Yeah.
So, if you're in that position, don't hesitate to let me know, and I can usually find somebody.
Yep. And that's what I was going to say is I've noticed on social media several times you've said, hey, got
need 2 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah, need a couple
like
spots or whatever, man. That's awesome. That's hustling right there. You know what I mean? That's
I want to go every day.
Oh yeah, that says a lot about you.
I get to inshore fish a lot, and I just want to fish every day. But I have the bug, anytime somebody mentions wanting to go sword fishing, I'm like, oh yeah, I can find 2 more to go.
That's right.
I'll be calling some of my friends and be like, all right, y'all are up, get 2 spots.
Yep.
Put your checkbook.
Put me and Richard on that short list. We went on that list.
They're usually in for it. So
yeah, you sound like you got that same sickness I do, where there's not enough days in the year to fish, man.
That's right.
That's right. Not enough.
All right, bros. Keep on whacking them. Great talking to you as always, man. We'll listen out for you next time.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Cap. Captain Richard. That's a good Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report, man.
Man, it feels like we've been on a daggum journey. You know what I mean?
Feels like a long show, but it's actually not that bad.
Feels like we ran offshore and came back.
It feels like we did. I agree.
We caught a swordfish and a red snapper and a yellow edge grouper.
Caught some pompano. Caught a giant state record off Petty Boy. Caught some swordfish, some tuna.
We've been around the world, huh?
Yeah. Offshore fishing's been good, man.
It's that time of year,
It is.
It's that time of year. And I kind of think it's always like the focus is on offshore right now, but, man, it's always that good offshore, you know what I mean, in our area. Even in the wintertime, it's great out there.
Well, this year it was.
Yeah. Even in the wintertime, it's great, but it is very good fishing right now.
For sure.
Pretty water sounds like we didn't really talk about water clarity, but
we didn't at all with anyone. It's beautiful everywhere.
Yeah, some of the guys we've been talking to that have been going offshore, Bluewater's in pushed in fairly close right now, not
like I think I said earlier, Joe took out his family on his 23 Dorado this weekend. Big man, Joe Baya. I think he said they got on a silly rip, like 12 or 16 miles straight out of here out of Dolphin Island, and they waxed them.
Yep.
Chicken dolphin. He said it was just silly with life, and that's what I like, man. That's what I like to fish. I'd rather catch chicken dolphin on a rip than catch snapper all day long.
That's a pile. That's the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
It's a lot of blood. That's a lot of mess right there. Well, man, I appreciate you co-hosting with me today. We got to do What'd You Learn. This week's What'd You Learn is brought to us by MDH Foundation Repair. If your home is experiencing foundation problems, MDH Foundation Repair has the best solutions to fix it right and fix it now. The problems you see are only going to get worse. So don't deal with inefficient, unqualified, and pushy salesmen trying to sell you overpriced foundation repair products. The professionals at MDH Foundation will ensure you have a remarkable experience from the first meeting to the finished product. MDH Foundation Repair is redefining the construction industry and protect your most important asset, your home. Check them out at mdhfoundationrepair.com. What'd you learn this week, man?
Man, I
learned a lot this week. First of all,
I did too. I really enjoyed Scott Bannon being on talking about.
You kind of see behind the scenes a little bit, right?
Oh yeah, it's so cool, and it's so cool that the transparency that he provides to the public.
I feel like Scott's one of us.
He is.
I really do. I feel that way.
I do too. I
don't think he's blowing smoke. I think he's for us. He's for the anglers. I just do. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think he's been in our corner long enough. Like I said earlier last year, it worked out great for all the anglers. Bad weather a couple weekends. We got a couple of extensions. And this year, it just happened to go the other way. I mean,
things beyond our control.
That's right.
It's good to see a pile of people get out fishing. COVID's not going to kill us.
Right. I don't think so.
And it obviously hadn't done anything to the fish. But I tell you, besides Scott,
right. Fish can't transmit it.
Besides Scott and all his transparency with telling us kind of how the whole game works, which I think is really cool. I really like what Dustin was just talking about, the swordfish. And I've never caught a swordfish, and keep telling everybody I'm gonna catch one out of the bay boat before you know it.
Let's do it.
I want to catch one so bad. That's such a big bucket bucket list fish for me. Him talking about the electronics and how dials them in each time he goes out there.
I thought you were liking that whenever you saw your ears perk up with the electronics conversation.
Oh, man. I was over here just like, what? Huh? What's he doing? I need to listen a little harder here, and talking about playing, and literally I know what he's talking about. You get out there and you play with the gain, like freaking wind it up.
Showing you different things.
Yep, wind it up, slow it down a little bit till you can see that cloudy line. Because I know I could see thermocline on there on my machine before, and that was really neat that he's associating where those fish. It's always somewhere near the bottom if he's fishing anywhere from 1,300 to 1,700 foot of water.
Yeah,
and that bottom, that thermocline's anywhere from sounds like 150, 200 to almost 500 foot off the bottom.
That's where everything's living.
Yep, that's where he's keeping his bait right there, and that's really neat, man. That's so cool. And you can use electronics to catch more fish, And really all it is, and I say this, I'm a broken record on this podcast, but paying attention to what you're doing when you're doing it, and those electronics, just absolutely, especially in that offshore world, paying attention to what you're looking at, golly, it goes so far.
Well, we were talking a little bit off air, and I'll go ahead and go into that. You're talking about transducers, a different transducer for your boat. Why do you think you need a bigger one?
I only have rigged on my current contender.
Because I would think you're not the only person with this problem. It's not a problem, but you know what I'm saying.
So I have a through hull. It's an Aramar B75 high, and that's a very good shallow water. And they say shallow water 600 feet or less.
Okay.
Transducer, and it's a chirp. So I get very good definition with that in shallow water. If I want to go out in that 1,300 to 1,800, 2,000 foot of water, I've got to go up to a 1,000 watt transducer. Okay. And then they have, and within that, they have like high, medium, and low. High is going to shoot a wider beam in shallower water. Low, it narrows up the beams you shoot so that you can see deeper.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. So, and that's what Dustin was talking about offline right there. Was that I'd want to get a high and low so I can go both because you can switch.
So that wouldn't affect your inshore, but it would optimize your offshore and deep water.
I would definitely when you go over about 800 feet, you've got to have 1,000. You got what they call a 1 kW transducer.
So I guess the only reason you wouldn't do that, you wouldn't outfit your bay boat immediately with 1,000 kW is just price.
No, it's not price at all. It's space. When I've inquired about putting one of those in that bay boat, the difference between a 600 and 1,000 watt is like going from a transducer like on the inside that's as big as a softball or an orange going to like
watermelon, small watermelon.
Yeah, that size, and man, in those bay boats everything's tight.
True.
So
okay. I was just curious.
Oh yeah, no, I would definitely go. Me, I'm go big or go home. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So I would definitely have to retrofit one in there.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna push them a little harder to make it fit next time.
Might have to,
maybe, man. For those couple of trips a year, I like to
be worth it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Especially when we go get our swordfish on it.
Oh yeah, come on.
Man, I think what stuck out to me was I really enjoyed live bait.
Oh, yeah.
Isbell hit on it a little bit. You hit on it with croakers in the surf. And Dustin Bedgood, that was his tip. That was his everything right now is take your time to catch the bait.
That's right.
I get it.
And we've heard that a ton on this show, just in general. Having the right bait, catch the right species, especially when it comes to those bottom fish, like what Dustin was talking about with the snapper fishing, They've seen 100 freaking dead pogies and cigar minnows and
at least
all that kind of stuff, especially by this point, as many people have been out. What did Bannon say? Like it was like 60,000 pounds, 70,000 pounds of fish are getting caught a day.
800 trips a day or something.
That's insane. So, these fish are wising up,
beat up.
And
they've been hit with lids on top of the head enough to where they know what's up.
So I like that. Finding good live bait.
I was talking to Joe earlier. Joe and I were just talking to collaborate on fishing reports and whatnot. He and I just got off on a random topic about live bait before the show even began. And he was like, man, even out on that rip this weekend, he was like, I want something in my, we talk about cobia in general, ling. And he said, I want something in my live well that's going to freak that fish out. Mm-hmm. A thread fin, whatever it may be, wherever you are. Yep. Want a wild card. Mm-hmm. We asked a couple questions about ling and live bait and what if they get lockjaw and all that. And we'll go in depth. I would like to do an in-depth show on you with ling for sure. But yeah, just keep a wild card in your live well. Keep some thread fins. Keep something a little different. And if they won't bite the croaker or they won't bite the pogey, throw something wild at them, a catfish with all their fins cut off of them, man. I've heard that's amazing ling bait.
Yep.
Snapper will eat that too.
I'm so picky with my bait. I know when I go in my live well and I'm putting my bait on, man, I am not putting one on there that doesn't blow my skirt up every time. I want that shrimp that's freaking jumping the most in there, that croaker that's freaking trying to get away. The hardest hardest croaker to catch in the live well is the one that I want. Right. You know what I mean? Because he's so fast. That's what you want, is that good frisky bait.
Yep.
And that's a whole nother science, whole nother
special show.
On keeping bait alive and just bait in general. I put a lot of focus into it, when I'm doing that. But well, man, what a great show.
Yep. Let's wrap it up, man. I appreciate you, co-host. I mean, like I said earlier, we appreciate you being here. I don't know how your book looks, but if folks want to get a trip with you, what's it looking like and what you want to go after this next month?
Man, so July's always...
I'm sure you have customers that book with you every year for the same thing, but I'm sure you have some guys that call you and say, hey, man, what can we do that's fun?
That's right. So coming up, of course, the black fishing is going to stay really, really good. This trout fishing out on the beaches is starting to really heat up.
Which I like. That's fun.
And then, like I said, kind of getting into the hotter part of the year, the red fishing is going to go really, really nuts. And, of course, I'm going to start targeting my cobia September, August, or really more September, October time frame. So that should start to heat up. I'm starting to book up good in July right now, where rodeo always kind of messes me up because I take a little bit of a mini
sabbatical.
A little vacation there in rodeo to make sure everybody has a good rodeo. But July's booking up good. I've still got a couple dates, maybe one or two dates before rodeo, and then after rodeo, I've got a handful of dates available as well. So my bookings are looking great. I still have some availability. So,
what's the best way to book with you?
Man, get a hold of me on my website, coldbloodedfishing.com. All my contact info is on there. And then, of course, I'm on Facebook, Instagram.
Cold-blooded fishing.
Cold-blooded fishing.
Amen.
So anywho, y'all give me a holler if you want to go.
All right, brother. I appreciate you being with me today. We had a good time. It's a good report, man.
I feel like we should fist bump and say, America.
All right, folks. That's going to wrap it up this week. You guys, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, head over to greatdaysoutdoors.com/ASFR, and we'll email you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them. We'll see you next week. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by Geico. Call Ron Davis, Geico agent, at 251-445-0053 or visit him online at geico.com/mobile-al.
And also Fishbites. Fishbites stay on the hook longer than any natural bait. Check them out at fishbites.com.
Also brought to you by Coastal Conservation Association of Alabama. Check them out at ccaalabama.org.
And also brought to you by Daycool Heating and Air, your home performance specialist. Contact them at 251-260-3858 or check them out online at www.daycoolair.com. License number AL07028.
Also brought to you by Advanced Transmission in Spanish Fort. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo Depaola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.